The screaming started at 2:07 a.m. Maya heard it before she saw the armed men, before she understood what kind of store allowed security guards to carry weapons that size, before she realized the luxury grocery on Fifth Avenue wasn't just expensive, it was exclusive, the kind of place where you needed an appointment to buy milk. She was stocking organic kombucha on the bottom shelf when the child's voice cut through the classical music playing overhead. Not a tantrum, something deeper. The kind of crying that came from a place words couldn't reach. "Stay back." One of the employees grabbed her wrist. "That's Jae-won Kang." Maya didn't know that name. She knew the sound of a 4-year-old losing his mind. She knew what happened when adults stood in a circle and did nothing while a child drowned in his own fear. She pulled her wrist free and walked toward the sound. The scene came into focus in pieces. Designer suit, perfectly styled black hair, a man who looked like he'd been carved from marble, standing completely still while his son screamed on the floor. 6 guards positioned around them like they were protecting a president. Employees frozen against the shelves, eyes down, breathing shallow. The boy was small for his age, dark hair stuck to his forehead with sweat. His face was red, mouth open, but the screaming had turned silent. The dangerous kind, the kind that meant his throat was closing. Maya dropped to her knees 3 feet away from him, not close enough to touch, close enough to be seen. She didn't try to calm him down, didn't use that sing-song voice adults use when they wanted children to stop having feelings. She just looked at him until his eyes focused on her face. Then she said 4 words. "He needs a mom." The screaming stopped, not slowly, not with hiccuping breaths, just stopped, like someone had cut the power to a machine. The boy stared at her, his chest still heaving, his small hands still clenched into fists, but quiet. The man in the suit hadn't moved, but something in his posture changed, a shift so small Maya almost missed it, like he'd been waiting for something and she'd just handed it to him. "What's your name?" Maya asked the boy, not the father. The child's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Hyun-soo," the man answered. Maya didn't look at him. "I asked Hyun-soo." The guards shifted. One of the employees made a sound like someone had stepped on his throat. The boy whispered, "Hyun-soo, I'm Maya. I work here, night shift. I stock shelves and clean up spills, and sometimes I eat the free samples when no one's looking." She sat back on her heels. "You can keep crying if you want. That's okay, but you don't have to." Hyun-soo looked at his father, then back at Maya, then at his own hands like he'd forgotten they belonged to him. "Can you stand up?" Maya asked. The boy nodded, then stand up. He did, slowly, wobbling a little. His father's hand twitched toward him, then stopped. Maya stood too. She didn't offer her hand, didn't try to hug him or pat his head or do any of the things adults did when they needed children to like them. She just looked at him like he was a person. "Better?" she asked. Hyun-soo nodded. "Good. I have to get back to work. Mr. Park gets angry when the kombucha isn't organized by flavor." She turned to leave. "Wait." The man's voice was quiet, the kind of quiet that made everyone in the room stop breathing. "What's your full name?" Maya looked at him for the first time, really looked, and felt something cold slide down her spine. She'd seen eyes like that before, 7 years ago, in a courtroom, right before she'd disappeared. "Maya Toms," she said. "Why?" He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. No reason. She knew he was lying. She also knew she couldn't afford to care. She had 4 hours left in her shift, and $17 in her bank account, and a daughter waiting at home with an inhaler that was 3 weeks past empty. Maya went back to the kombucha. Behind her, Jae-won Kang watched her organize bottles with the same focus he used to plan executions. He'd tested 15 candidates in 6 months, nannies with references from European royalty, child psychologists from Harvard, women who spoke 4 languages and knew how to detect poison in food. None of them had lasted past the first meltdown. This woman in a grocery store vest with holes in her shoes had done in 4 words what money couldn't buy. She'd seen his son as human. He pulled out his phone, sent a single text to his sister. Found her. If stories like this make you stop scrolling and listen, Subscribe now. This is where complicated people make impossible choices, and every quiet moment costs something. Maya's apartment smelled like instant ramen. The heating hadn't worked since October. Emma was asleep on the couch under 3 blankets and Maya's winter coat. 7 years old, small for her age, wheezing even in her sleep. Maya set down the grocery bags. Clearance items and dented cans the store let her take home. She checked Emma's forehead. No fever. That was good. Fever meant emergency room. Emergency room meant questions. Questions meant social workers. Social workers meant losing her daughter. She couldn't lose her daughter. The bills on the table had stopped looking like numbers. They'd become something abstract, a test of creativity. Which one could she ignore the longest? Which company would turn off the lights first? How many days could Emma go without the medication that kept her lungs open? Maya had a PhD dissertation sitting in a box under her bed. 12 years of research on cult psychology, trauma bonding, and coercive control. She'd been 3 months from defending. 3 months from becoming Dr. Maya Toms, the woman who'd cracked the code on why intelligent people followed monsters. Then she'd testified against the wrong monster. They'd called her paranoid when she'd run. Said she was experiencing post-traumatic stress from the trial. Suggested therapy, medication, time. She'd changed her name, moved 4 times, worked jobs that didn't require background checks. Kept Emma out of any system that might leave a trail. 7 years of looking over her shoulder, 7 years of night shifts and expired inhalers and choosing between electricity and food. She was so tired. Emma coughed in her sleep. Maya's hand went to her phone, opened the emergency room number, hovered over the call button. Not yet, not tonight, 1 more day. She made instant ramen, split it between 2 bowls, ate hers standing at the sink while she watched the street below through a window that didn't lock properly. A black car sat on the corner, same one that had been there for 3 days. Maya closed the blind and went to bed on the floor next to the couch where her daughter slept. She dreamed about grocery stores, about a man with empty eyes, about a child who'd stopped screaming because someone had finally told the truth. He needs a mom. God help her. She'd meant it. Hei-in Kang didn't sleep. She hadn't slept properly in 3 years. Not since her brother's wife died and Hyun-soo stopped speaking. Not since the Kang family's war with Byung-ho Kim had turned from cold to active. Not since she'd realized her nephew was being used as a weapon against her brother's sanity. She stood in her office on the 40th floor of the Kang building and studied the whiteboards that covered every wall. Names, connections, money trails, patterns. Byung-ho Kim's organization shouldn't exist. By every logical rule of criminal enterprise, it should have collapsed years ago. He didn't pay better than other families. His territory wasn't bigger. His reputation wasn't scarier. But his people never betrayed him. Never. Not for money, not for immunity, not even when they faced death. That wasn't loyalty, that was something else. Hei-in had spent 2 years trying to crack it, interviewing defectors, studying interrogation footage, running psychological profiles. She'd narrowed it down to 7 possibilities. 6 of them were dead ends. The 7th was a name she'd found in an old academic journal about coercive control in isolated communities. Dr. Maya Toms, ABD, Columbia University. Dissertation focused the mechanics of manufactured loyalty in high control groups. The research was brilliant. It mapped exactly what Byung-ho Kim was doing to his people. The small acts of care that created obligation. The public praise that created identity. The manufactured crises that created trauma bonds. The way he made his violence feel like family. Hei-in had tried to find Dr. Maya Toms 6 months ago. The trail went cold in 2018. No graduation, no current address, no social media, no nothing. Then her brother had sent a text at 2:10 a.m. Found her. Hei-in pulled up the security footage from the grocery store. Watched a woman in a stained vest drop to her knees in front of a child having a meltdown that had defeated 15 trained professionals. Watched her say 4 words that stopped the screaming, watched her walk away like it was nothing. Hayen ran facial recognition, cross-referenced with the dissertation photo from 2017. Maya Toms had cut her hair, lost weight, aged in ways that suggested trauma. But it was her. She pulled up Maya's testimony from 7 years ago, the trial that had convicted Marcus Webb, a cult leader who'd built a real estate empire on the backs of people who called him father and gave him everything they owned. Maya Toms had been inside for 2 years, deep cover, gathering evidence. Marcus Webb had 23 followers in that courtroom. All of them had stared at Maya like she was the traitor, like she was the one who'd broken something sacred. Webb had smiled at her when the verdict came down, mouthed 2 words the cameras didn't catch. Hayen read the detective's notes. Maya had disappeared 3 days later. The FBI had listed her as uncooperative, paranoid, possibly compromised, but Hayen didn't think Maya was paranoid. She thought Maya understood exactly how coercive control worked. She'd studied it, testified about it, knew that Webb's followers wouldn't stop just because he was in prison. She'd run because running was smart. Now she was stocking kombucha at 2 a.m. and living in an apartment that violated 6 housing codes with a daughter who had a medical file that would make CPS salivate. She was desperate, vulnerable, perfect. Hayen picked up her phone, texted her brother. The grocery store meeting wasn't an accident, was it? 3 dots. Then no. She's going to say no when you ask. I know. So you're going to make sure she can't. No response. That meant yes. Hayen looked at Maya's face on the screen, at the way she'd knelt in front of Hyun Soo, at the way she'd treated him like a person instead of a problem. I'm sorry, Hayen whispered to the image. You seemed nice. Then she pulled up Maya's daughter's medical records and started calculating exactly how much pressure it would take to break someone who'd already survived being broken once. The envelope appeared on Maya's door at 6 a.m. She almost missed it, almost stepped right over it on her way out to walk Emma to school. But the weight of it caught her attention, the quality of the paper, the way it sat there like a threat wrapped in expensive cardboard. She picked it up, opened it, found a check for $15,000 and a business card. Nanny position, 1-week trial, housing and medical coverage included, no company name, just a phone number and an address in Tribeca. Maya knew exactly who'd sent it. She also knew she should throw it away, burn it, pretend she'd never seen that man or his screaming child, or the way 6 armed guards had moved like trained soldiers in a grocery store at 2 a.m. She closed the envelope, put it in her jacket pocket, woke Emma up and helped her into the clothes that were getting too small, watched her daughter use an inhaler that was 4 weeks empty, and try to pretend it was working. Emma coughed all through breakfast, coughed on the walk to school, coughed while Maya signed her in and lied to the nurse that, yes, she had a doctor's appointment scheduled. Yes, she was managing the asthma. Yes, everything was fine. Everything was not fine. Maya went to work, stocked shelves, avoided Mr. Park, came home to an apartment that was 38 degrees inside because the heating still didn't work, made dinner from a can, watched Emma struggle to breathe. At 11 p.m., Emma's lips turned blue. Maya called 911, rode in the ambulance, sat in the ER while doctors asked questions about medication compliance and follow-up care, and did she understand that untreated asthma could kill her daughter. A social worker appeared at 2 a.m., young, kind, the dangerous kind of kind. Ms. Chen, I need to ask you some questions about Emma's living situation. Maya knew what came next. She'd been waiting for it for 7 years. The moment when someone official finally noticed she was failing, finally noticed her daughter deserved better than a mother who couldn't afford to keep her alive. She excused herself to the bathroom, locked the door, pulled out the business card, stared at it for 5 minutes. Then she made the call. A woman answered. He's been waiting. Maya closed her eyes. I need the medical coverage to start immediately. And I need someone to call off the social worker in room 347 at St. Vincent's Hospital. Done. A car will pick you up in 20 minutes. I haven't said yes yet. You just did. The line went dead. Maya looked at herself in the hospital bathroom mirror, at the woman who'd run for 7 years, who'd given up her PhD and her future and her name to keep her daughter safe, who was about to walk into a cage because at least this cage came with health care. She thought about Hyun-soo, about the way he'd stopped screaming when she'd told the truth, about the way his father had looked at her like she was a weapon he'd been searching for. She thought about Marcus Webb, about the way he'd smiled in that courtroom, about the 2 words he'd mouthed, "I'll wait." 7 years. He'd been right. Maya washed her face, went back to the ER. The social worker was gone. Emma was sleeping. The doctor said the bill was paid, fully, no balance, no questions. Maya held her daughter's hand and waited for the car that would take them to whatever came next. She'd survived a cult. She'd survived testimony. She'd survived 7 years of running. She could survive this. Probably. The penthouse took up the entire 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows, security cameras in every corner, armed guards at the elevator, a kitchen bigger than Maya's entire apartment, bedrooms with actual heating, bathrooms with water pressure and locks that worked, a cage made of marble and money and the kind of danger that wore expensive suits. Jae-won Kang stood in the living room with his hands in his pockets, waiting. Behind him, a woman who looked like a sharper, colder version of him watched Maya with the expression of someone conducting an experiment. "This is my sister Haein," Jae-won said. "She runs security." Haein smiled. It was worse than her brother's. "You testified against Marcus Webb in 2018. You disappeared 3 days after the verdict. You've been working under your birth name for 6 months. That was stupid." Maya set down Emma's bag. "You did a background check. We did 6 years of research. The background check was just confirmation." Haein stepped closer. "You wrote a dissertation on coercive control. You infiltrated a cult. You understand how monsters make people love them. That's why you're here. I'm here because my daughter needs health insurance. You're here because my brother needs someone who can teach him what you know about breaking loyalty. And because you need protection you can't get anywhere else." Haein's smile disappeared. "Marcus Webb's followers know where you live. They've known for 3 weeks. The only reason Emma's still alive is because we've had security on her since the day you walked into that grocery store." The floor tilted. Maya grabbed the back of a chair. "You're lying. The blue car, 2 blocks from your building, registered to a woman who visits Webb in prison every Thursday." Haein pulled out her phone, showed Maya a photo. The same car, the same woman. She was waiting for orders. "We made sure those orders never came." Maya couldn't breathe. 7 years. She'd been so careful, changed her name, moved, stayed off the grid. And they'd found her anyway. Webb had been right. He'd waited. "What do you want?" Maya whispered. Jae-won spoke for the first time since Haein had started talking. Byung-ho Kim runs his organization like a cult. His people die for him. They go to prison for him. They never talk. We need to understand why. We need to break it. And you think I can help you do that? I think you already did it once. I think you can do it again. Maya looked at Emma, sleeping in a chair that probably cost more than Maya's annual salary. At her daughter's chest, rising and falling with breaths that came easier in air that was warm and clean and not full of mold spores. "If I say no, then you leave, and we pull our security, and you take your chances with Webb's people." Jae-won's voice didn't change, didn't threaten, just stated facts. "Or you stay, you help us. And Emma stays safe. She gets the medical care she needs. She gets a good school, a normal life. There's nothing normal about this. No. But it's better than what you have." Maya wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wrong, that she'd find another way. that she didn't make deals with men who kept armed guards in grocery stores. But Emma coughed in her sleep, and Maya remembered the social worker's face, remembered the empty inhaler, remembered 7 years of choosing between electricity and food. 1 week, she heard herself say. Trial period. If I don't think I can help you, I leave. If you leave after 1 week, Webb's people find you after 2. Hayen stepped between Maya and the door. There's no trial period. You're in this now. You have been since you said those 4 words to my nephew. He needs a mom. That's what you said. J1 walked closer. You were right. He does. His mother died 3 years ago. He hasn't spoken more than 10 words since. 15 therapists. None of them could reach him. You did, in 30 seconds. Maya felt the trap close around her, felt the weight of her own compassion, her own stupid, reckless need to help a screaming child. You used him, she said. You put him in that store. You made him scream. You knew I'd try to help. Yes, no apology, no justification, just the truth. Maya looked at J1 Kang and saw exactly what he was. A man who'd weaponize his own son's trauma to win a war. A man who'd researched her for 6 years, who'd waited until she was desperate enough to be useful, who'd put guards on her daughter not to protect her but to make sure his investment stayed alive. She should run. Should grab Emma and disappear again. Find a new city, a new name, another 7 years of looking over her shoulder. But Emma coughed again, and Maya was so tired of running. Where's my room? She asked. Hayen smiled. Down the hall, second door. Your daughter's is across from yours. Medical team comes tomorrow at 8. School enrollment is Monday. Maya picked up Emma, carried her toward the hallway, stopped at the door. I'm going to help your nephew, she said without turning around, because he deserves better than being used as bait. But after that, I'm finding a way out of here. I survived Marcus Webb. I'll survive you too. She didn't wait for a response, didn't need one. She'd made her position clear. Behind her, J1 watched her disappear down the hallway, watched her put Emma to bed in a room that had been prepared for weeks, watched her check the locks on the door even though there was no way out that his security didn't control. She's going to be a problem, Hayen said. I know, she's going to try to run. Let her try. She'll realize there's nowhere to go. J1 turned to the windows. Did you pull the file on So-Yun's death? Yes. You were right. It wasn't pneumonia. Show me tomorrow. Tonight I want to watch my son sleep without screaming for the first time in 3 years. Hayen left. J1 walked to Hyun-Soo's room. His son was curled under blankets that cost more than some people's cars. His face relaxed in a way it never was when he was awake. His small chest rising and falling with the easy breath of someone who felt safe. J1 had done terrible things to keep his son safe. Had started a war, had hunted a woman across 7 years, had turned his son's trauma into strategy. He would do worse before this ended. He pulled out his phone, looked at the photo Hayen had sent him. Marcus Webb, prison photo from 3 months ago, still smiling, still waiting. J1 smiled back at the photo. She's mine now, he whispered. Come and get her. Then he went to plan the war that would either save his family or destroy it. Probably both. Hyun-Soo was awake when Maya knocked on his door the next morning. He sat at a table by the window with blank paper in front of him and colored pencils scattered like casualties. He didn't look up when she entered, didn't acknowledge her at all. I'm not going to ask if you're okay, Maya said. She sat down across from him, not next to him. Space mattered. I'm not going to ask how you're feeling. I'm not going to tell you everything's going to be fine. Hyun-Soo's hand hovered over a red pencil. Didn't pick it up. I'm going to be here for a while, Maya continued. Your dad hired me to help you, but I can't help you if you don't want help. So here's what I'm offering. 1 hour every day. We sit here. You can draw. You can talk. You can sit in silence. Whatever you want. I won't force you to do anything. I won't tell you how you should feel. I'll just be here. She stood up to leave. Are you my new mom? Hyun-Soo asked. His voice was so quiet Maya almost missed it. She turned back, looked at this small boy with his father's eyes and his mother's grief. No, I'm not your mom, nobody can replace her. But I can be someone who listens, someone who won't leave just because you're angry or sad or scared. Everyone leaves. I know, adults lie about that. They say they won't leave and then they do. So I'm not going to promise I'll stay forever, but I'll promise I'll tell you the truth. And I'll promise that if I have to leave, I'll explain why. Hyun-soo picked up the red pencil, drew a line, then another, then stopped. My mom left because I was bad. Maya's heart cracked. She'd heard this before, different child, same wound. The way trauma made children blame themselves for every adult failure, every loss, every abandonment. She sat back down. Who told you that? Nobody. I just know. You're wrong. Your mom didn't leave because of anything you did. She left because she got sick. And being sick isn't your fault. It's not her fault either. It's just what happened. If I'd been better, she wouldn't have gotten sick. That's not how sickness works. You can't make someone sick by being bad. You can't make someone healthy by being good. That's not how bodies work. Hyun-soo drew another line. His hand was shaking. Then why did she leave? Because sometimes people die even when we love them, even when we need them, even when we'd give anything to make them stay. It's not fair, it's not right, but it's real. The pencil broke. Hyun-soo stared at it like it had betrayed him. Then he swept all the pencils off the table. They scattered across the marble floor like tiny pieces of color in a world built from gray. Maya didn't move, didn't tell him to calm down, didn't rush to clean up the mess. She just sat there while he breathed hard and fast and fought the tears that wanted to come. I'm still here, she said quietly. I'm not leaving just because you're upset. You can throw things. You can cry. You can scream. I'm still going to be sitting right here. Hyun-soo looked at her, really looked at her, testing to see if she meant it. Maya looked back, steady. No flinching, no fake smile, just truth. I hate her, Hyun-soo whispered. I hate my mom for leaving. Okay. Yes. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to hate what happened. Loving someone and being angry at them can happen at the same time. Dad says I shouldn't be angry. Your dad is wrong. Being angry is normal. It's what you do with the anger that matters. Maya leaned forward. Want to know what I do when I'm angry? Hyun-soo nodded. I write it down. Everything I'm angry about. Everything I wish I could say. Then I rip it up into tiny pieces. It doesn't fix anything, but it helps. Does your mom make you angry? My mom left when I was 8, so yes, she makes me very angry. Hyun-soo's eyes widened. Did she die? No, she just left. Decided being a mom was too hard. Decided I was too hard. Maya picked up one of the fallen pencils, handed it to him. So I understand what it feels like when someone you need decides not to stay. But you're a grown-up now. You're not sad anymore. I'm still sad. I'm still angry. But I learned how to live with it. That's what getting older means. Not that the hurt goes away, just that you get better at carrying it. Hyun-soo took the pencil, rolled it between his fingers. Can you teach me how to carry it? Maya felt something shift in her chest. The weight of responsibility, the dangerous warmth of connection. She was here to help a child, not to care, not to get attached, not to become another person who'd eventually leave him. But she'd already failed at that. She'd failed the moment she'd knelt on that grocery store floor. Yes, she said. I can teach you. Hyun-soo smiled, small, broken, real. Then he picked up the paper and started drawing. Medicine bottles lined up on a table, a woman lying in a bed, a small boy standing in the doorway watching. Maya looked at the drawing and felt cold recognition slide down her spine. She'd seen drawings like this before, in case files, in therapy reports, in the boxes of evidence from her work with the FBI. This wasn't grief. This was witness testimony. Hyun-soo, she said carefully, what are you drawing? The day Mom left. Can you tell me about it? He drew another bottle. His hand steady now, focused. She was sleeping. But not like normal sleeping. Different. Dad came home, he picked her up. She didn't wake up. The medicine bottles were empty. But Mom never took medicine. Dad said she was sick. But I don't think that's true. Maya's pulse hammered. Why don't you think that's true? Because someone else was there, before Dad came home. Someone gave her the medicine, someone who told me to be very quiet, someone who said if I told anyone, my dad would die too. Did you see who it was? Hyun-soo drew a face. Wrong proportions, child's understanding. But clear enough. A man, sharp features, cold eyes. He visits sometimes, Hyun-soo whispered, at Dad's office. They pretend to be friends. But I know he's the one who made Mom sleep forever. Maya took out her phone, hands shaking. Hyun-soo, I need you to do something very important. I need you to finish that drawing. Every detail you remember. Can you do that? He nodded. Good. And Hyun-soo? Don't tell your dad we had this conversation. Not yet. Not until I'm sure you're safe. Are you going to help Dad stop the bad man? Maya looked at this child who'd watched his mother die, who'd kept the secret for 3 years because he'd been threatened, who'd stopped talking because how could you speak when the truth might kill the one person you had left? Yes, she said, I'm going to help. She left his room, walked directly to Jae-won's office, didn't knock, just opened the door. He looked up from his desk, raised an eyebrow. It's been 1 day. You're already reporting progress? Your wife didn't die from pneumonia, Maya said. She was murdered. Your son watched it happen. And the man who killed her is someone you know. Someone you work with. Someone who threatened Hyun-soo into silence. The room went very still. Jae-won stood. His face showed nothing. But his hands on the desk were white-knuckled. How do you know this? Because I spent 2 years learning how to recognize trauma in children. Because your son just drew me a picture. And because I understand what it looks like when a child is carrying a secret that's killing him. She pulled out her phone, showed him the photo. This is the man Hyun-soo saw. Does he look familiar? Jae-won's face changed. Just for a second. Just enough for Maya to see rage. The kind that burned cold. The kind that waited years for revenge. Byung-ho Kim, he whispered. It was always Byung-ho Kim. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Hey In, get the medical file for So-yeon's death. Everything, every test, every doctor, every single person who touched her that day. He hung up, looked at Maya. You just changed everything. I just told you what your son couldn't, what you didn't want to see. I thought she was sick. I thought I'd missed the signs. I thought I'd failed to save her. You did fail. But not in the way you thought. You failed to see that your war put your family at risk. You failed to protect your son from watching his mother die. You failed to notice he was drowning in a secret that no child should have to keep. Jae-won stepped around the desk, moved toward her. You've been here 1 day and you're already lecturing me about failure? Yes. Because someone needs to. Maya didn't back up. Didn't flinch. You want me to help you win a war? Fine. But understand this. I'm not here to be your weapon. I'm here to help your son survive what you've put him through. If those 2 things align, great. If they don't, I'm choosing him. Every time. Jae-won stared at her. The most dangerous man in New York. The man who could have her killed with a phone call. Who'd hunted her for 6 years, who'd trapped her in a penthouse with no way out. Then he laughed, quiet, dark, real. You're either very brave or very stupid. I'm neither. I'm just someone who understands that the only way to survive monsters is to refuse to be afraid of them. He studied her face, looked for the lie, found only truth. Marcus Webb taught you that? Marcus Webb taught me a lot of things. Most of them the hard way. Maya turned toward the door. I need the medical file too. If Hyun-soo's right, there will be evidence. Toxicology, witnesses. Someone was paid to look the other way. Find them, and then we make them talk. Then we prove what Byung-ho Kim did. Then you make sure he pays for it in a way that doesn't put your son through more trauma. You think I should show mercy? I think you should be smart. Revenge that costs your son his father isn't revenge. It's just more loss. J1 nodded slowly. You're right. I hate that you're right. But you're right. I usually am. Get used to it. She left, closed the door behind her, leaned against the wall and breathed. She'd just challenged a mob boss in his own office. She'd just inserted herself into a war between families that could get her killed. She'd just committed to protecting a child who'd already witnessed murder. This was so much worse than Marcus Webb. At least Webb had hidden his violence behind spirituality. At least he'd pretended to care about saving people. Jae-won Kang didn't pretend. He was exactly what he looked like: dangerous, ruthless, willing to use anyone to win, including her, including his own son. But there was something else there too. Something she'd seen when she'd told him about So-yeon, not just rage, grief. The kind of grief that came from loving someone and failing to save them. Maya knew that grief, carried it like a scar: her mother, her career, her old life, all the things she'd lost to men who'd thought they owned her. She wasn't going to let Jae-won Kang become another one of those men. She was going to help Hyun-soo. She was going to make sure Emma stayed safe. And then she was going to find a way out of this cage, even if it meant burning it down to do it. The medical file arrived at midnight. Hae-in delivered it personally, set it on Maya's desk like it was evidence in a murder trial, which technically it was. Thallium poisoning, Hae-in said. Slow, painful, symptoms look like flu, then organ failure, then death. Maya opened the file, read through the original diagnosis: pneumonia, respiratory failure, natural causes, a woman who'd been sick for weeks. No autopsy ordered because the family was grieving and the cause seemed obvious. Except it wasn't. The timeline was wrong, the symptoms didn't match, the progression too deliberate. Who was the attending physician? Maya asked. Dr. Park Min-jun, retired 6 months after So-yeon died. Moved to Singapore, very sudden, very convenient. He was paid, obviously. I've been trying to find him for 2 years. He's good at disappearing. Maya looked up. But you're better at finding people. Hae-in smiled. I found you, didn't I? Point taken. So find Dr. Park. Find out who paid him. Find out what he knows about Byung-ho Kim's involvement. And if he won't talk? Everyone talks eventually. You just need to find the right pressure point. Maya closed the file. But we don't hurt him. We don't threaten his family. We don't become the thing we're fighting. That's not how my brother operates. Then it's time he learned a new way. Maya stood. I'm not helping you start a bloodbath. I'm helping you end one. There's a difference. Hae-in studied her. The same cold calculation her brother used. The same weighing of value versus risk. You think you can change him? No, I think I can show him that some strategies work better than violence. That long-term loyalty isn't built through fear. That if he wants to beat Byung-ho Kim, he needs to understand how Kim makes people love him. And to do that, he needs to stop being the kind of man people only follow because they're terrified. He's been that man his whole life. I know. Hae-in laughed, sharp, surprised. I was wrong about you. How so? I thought you were desperate. Trapped. Someone we could control. She moved toward the door. But you're not here because we trapped you. You're here because you saw an opportunity. An opportunity to what? To finish what you started with Marcus Webb. To prove that you can break coercive control, that you can dismantle the thing that makes monsters powerful. Hae-in opened the door. You're not trying to survive this. You're trying to win. Maya didn't respond, didn't need to. Hae-in had seen exactly what she was. Someone who'd spent 7 years running, who'd watched her daughter struggle to breathe, who'd had to choose between dignity and survival so many times the line between them had disappeared. She was tired of running, tired of choosing, tired of letting men like Marcus Webb and Byung-ho Kim and even Jae-won Kang decide what her life would look like. So yes, she was trying to win. She was trying to take everything they'd taught her about control and manipulation and turn it into the weapon that would destroy them. Starting with the doctor who'd helped murder a mother in front of her son. Dr. Park Min-joon lived in a condo overlooking Marina Bay. Expensive, anonymous, the kind of place where rich people went to avoid questions about how they'd gotten rich. Hae-in found him in 3 days, sent surveillance photos, routine, habits, weak points. Maya studied them, looked for the pressure point, found it in the photos from a coffee shop. Dr. Park sitting alone, reading medical journals, his face tight with something that looked like regret. He feels guilty, Maya told Jae-won. Guilt means conscience. Conscience means he can be reached, or it means he's weak. Weakness is useful. We just have to use it right. Maya pulled up a photo. I want to talk to him, alone. No guards, no threats. Just a conversation. He'll run. Let him try. If he runs, it means he has something to hide. If he stays, it means he wants to unburden himself. Either way, we learn something. Jae-won leaned back in his chair. You're suggesting I let you walk into a meeting with a man who helped murder my wife, alone, unarmed, on the assumption he might want to confess. Yes, that's insane. It's psychology. Trust me. I don't trust anyone. Then trust that I survived 2 years inside a cult by understanding exactly how to read people. Trust that I know the difference between someone who's committed and someone who's conflicted. Trust that Dr. Park is conflicted, and I can use that. Jae-won studied her. If you're wrong, he could kill you. If I'm wrong, you'll have lost a week of work and gained a reason to do things your way. If I'm right, you'll have testimony, evidence, a path to Byung-ho Kim that doesn't require bloodshed. You really think you can get him to talk without violence? I think violence is what he expects. I think he's been waiting 3 years for someone to come kill him. I think he's drowning in guilt and fear, and if I show up offering neither, he'll break. Jae-won was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. 3 hours. You get 3 hours. If you're not out by then, I'm coming in. Deal. Maya flew to Singapore, alone, unarmed, carrying nothing but the truth. She found Dr. Park in the coffee shop, sat down across from him before he could run, watched him go pale, watched his hands start to shake. I'm not here to hurt you, she said quietly. I'm here to listen. He stared at her. Who are you? My name is Maya Toms. I work for Jae-won Kang, but I'm not here on his orders. I'm here because a little boy drew me a picture of his mother dying, and because I think you've been carrying that same picture in your head for 3 years. Dr. Park's coffee cup rattled against the saucer. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You were the attending physician when So-yeon Kang died. You signed off on pneumonia. You didn't order an autopsy. You retired 6 months later and moved halfway around the world. Maya leaned forward. That's not the behavior of someone who made an honest mistake. That's the behavior of someone who's running from what they did. I did my job. You helped murder a woman. That's not a job. That's a crime. Dr. Park stood. Maya didn't move, didn't try to stop him, just waited. He sat back down, covered his face with his hands, started crying. I didn't know, he whispered. I swear I didn't know what they were doing until it was too late. Tell me. And he did. Everything. Byung-ho Kim had approached him 2 months before So-yeon's death. Needed a doctor who could be trusted, who could make a death look natural. Offered money, offered protection, offered to forget about the medical malpractice lawsuit Dr. Park had been running from. Dr. Park had said yes, because he was desperate, because he was scared, because he'd convinced himself it was just paperwork, just signing documents, just looking the other way. Then they'd brought So-yeon in, dying from something that wasn't pneumonia. Dr. Park had known immediately, had seen the symptoms, had recognized the poison. He'd done nothing. Signed the documents, watched her die, took the money. There was a child there, he said, in the hallway watching. I told him to go back to his room, but he didn't. He just stood there, staring at his mother, and I knew he'd seen everything, known everything, and I still did nothing. Why? Because Byung-ho Kim told me if I talked, my daughter would die. She was 6, the same age as his grandson. He showed me photos of her, at school, at the playground, told me how easy it would be to make her disappear. Dr. Park looked at Maya. So I ran. I've been running ever since. But I can't sleep, can't eat, can't look at myself in the mirror without seeing that child's face. Maya pulled out a recorder, set it on the table. Tell me everything again, all of it. On record. I'll make sure Byung-ho Kim goes to prison. I'll make sure your daughter stays safe. But I need testimony. He'll kill me. He's going to kill you anyway. At least this way, your death means something. At least this way, you save the next person he tries to use. Dr. Park looked at the recorder, at Maya, at his shaking hands. Then he started talking. 3 hours later, Maya walked out of the coffee shop with recorded testimony, medical evidence, and the name of the person who'd supplied the thallium. Jae-won was waiting in the car. He looked at her face, then at the recorder in her hand. You got him to talk. I got him to confess. There's a difference. Maya climbed in. He's not a monster. He's just a weak man who made a terrible choice because he was scared. Byung-ho Kim is very good at finding weak people, at knowing exactly what to offer them, at making them complicit. That's how cults work. That's how all coercive control works. You find someone vulnerable. You offer them something they need. You make them dependent on you. Then you make them do things they never thought they'd do. Small things at first, then bigger, until they're in so deep they can't get out without destroying themselves. Jae-won was quiet. Then, is that what I'm doing to you? Maya looked at him. At the man who'd hunted her, trapped her, forced her to choose between her daughter's safety and her own freedom. Yes, she said. But the difference is I see it, I understand it, and I'm going to use it against you. He laughed, dark, appreciative. At least you're honest. I learned from the best. Marcus Webb was a master at coercive control. He taught me everything I needed to know about manipulation. Then I turned it against him, got him convicted, destroyed his organization. And you think you can do the same to me? I think I'm going to help you destroy Byung-ho Kim, and in the process I'm going to teach you why his methods work and yours don't. And when this is over, you're going to let me go. Because you'll understand that true loyalty can't be forced. It can only be earned. Jae-won studied her. You're playing a dangerous game. I've been playing dangerous games for 7 years. I'm very good at it. They flew back to New York. Maya delivered the recording to a prosecutor who owed the Kang family favors, set in motion the legal machinery that would bring Byung-ho Kim to justice. But she knew it wouldn't be that simple. Kim had been building his organization for 30 years, had judges and lawyers and politicians in his pocket, had enough money to make evidence disappear, enough power to make witnesses change their minds. Legal justice was slow, messy, uncertain. But there was another kind of justice, the kind that happened when you broke the thing that made someone powerful. Maya pulled up her research, the dissertation she'd written on coercive control, the patterns she'd mapped, the mechanisms she'd identified. Then she started designing a strategy, not for violence, not for war, for something more permanent. She was going to break Byung-ho Kim's hold on his people. She was going to show them what they'd become. She was going to give them a way out. And she was going to use everything Jae-won Kang had taught her about power to do it. Emma's nightmares started on week 3, screaming in the middle of the night, crying about men with guns, about blood on walls, about losing Maya. Maya held her daughter while she sobbed, felt the weight of what she'd done by bringing Emma into this world, this penthouse, this war. I want to go home, Emma whispered. I know, baby, I know. I hate it here. I hate the guards. I hate that I can't go outside without someone following me. I hate that you're always working and never with me anymore." Maya closed her eyes. "I'm sorry. Then let's leave. Let's go back to our old apartment. I don't care if it's cold. I don't care if I'm sick. I just want it to be us again. We can't leave yet." "Why not?" "Because they'll kill us. Because we're trapped. Because I made a deal with a monster to save your life and now we have to see it through." "Because I promised to help someone," Maya said instead. "And I keep my promises. What about your promise to me? You promised we'd always be together. You promised you'd keep me safe. But I'm not safe here. I'm scared all the time." Maya held Emma tighter, felt her daughter's heartbeat against her chest, felt the truth of what she'd done. She'd saved Emma's lungs, but she'd broken her spirit. That night, after Emma finally fell asleep, Maya went to J1's office. Didn't knock, just walked in. He looked up from his desk, took one look at her face. "What happened?" "My daughter is having nightmares. She's terrified. She wants to go home. And I can't give her that because you've made it impossible for us to leave. She's safe here. She's traumatized here. There's a difference." Maya crossed her arms. "I'm helping you. I'm doing exactly what you asked. But if my daughter breaks under the weight of your war, I'm done. Do you understand? I don't care about the consequences. I don't care about Webb's people or your enemies or anything else. I will burn this entire operation down if it means protecting her." J1 stood, walked around the desk. "What do you want me to do?" "I want Emma to have a normal life. School without armed escorts, friends without background checks, therapy without your sister listening to every session. I want her to feel like a child, not a hostage. I can't do that and keep her safe." "Then you're not as smart as I thought you were." Maya stepped closer. "You want to beat Byung-ho Kim? You want to build something that lasts? Then learn how to protect people without making them prisoners. Learn how to offer safety without demanding their freedom. Learn that control through fear is exactly what you're trying to destroy." She left before he could respond. Went back to Emma's room, crawled into bed next to her daughter and held her while she slept. She'd made a terrible mistake. She'd thought she could survive anything if it meant Emma stayed alive. But survival wasn't living, and Emma deserved more than just breath in her lungs. She deserved joy, freedom, childhood. Maya would give her that. Even if it meant destroying everything she'd been building, even if it meant running again, even if it meant losing, some things were worth losing for. J1 stood at the window of his office and watched the city lights blur into nothing. He thought about So-Yun, about the way she'd looked at him the last time they'd spoken, about the way she'd asked him to stop, to choose family over power, to be the kind of man who built things instead of destroying them. He'd promised her he would change, after the baby was born, after the war was over, after he'd secured their future. Then she'd died, and Hyun-soo had stopped talking, and the war had consumed everything. He told himself it was for his son, for his family, for survival. But Maya was right. He'd turned survival into a cage, safety into control, protection into prison. He pulled out his phone, called Hae in, pull the security detail from Emma's school, rotate the guards outside the building so she doesn't see them, find a therapist who has no connection to our family, someone who specializes in childhood trauma, someone who won't report to us. "You're giving her freedom," Hae-in said. "That's dangerous." "No. What's dangerous is breaking a child's spirit in the name of keeping her safe." Maya was right. We need to be better than what we're fighting. When did you become soft? When I realized that everything So-Yun warned me about was true, that power without purpose is just destruction, that winning a war by becoming the enemy isn't winning. It's just becoming. He hung up, made another call. This one to Taeguk Park, the lawyer who'd been trying to broker peace between the families for 2 years. "I want to meet with Byung-ho Kim," J1 said. "No guards, no weapons, just conversation. He'll never agree to that. Tell him I have proof he murdered my wife. Tell him I have testimony from Dr. Park. Tell him I'm offering him a choice. He can face me in court. Or he can face me in person and try to find a way out of this that doesn't end with his organization destroyed. Taeguk was quiet. Then, you're serious. I'm done with war. I'm done with revenge. I'm done with everything So-yeon hated about what I became. I want to end this. Byung-ho Kim killed my wife. He threatened my son. He built his power on trauma and fear. But I'm not going to destroy him by using those same tools. I'm going to offer him something he can't refuse. What? A way to step down with dignity, a way to leave his family intact, a way to spend the rest of his life somewhere other than prison. Jae-won looked at his reflection in the window. I learned something from Maya Toms. She survived a cult by understanding that people don't follow monsters because they love them. They follow them because they're afraid of what happens if they stop. If I can show Byung-ho Kim's people that there's a way out without death, his entire organization falls apart. That's brilliant. That's psychology. And I'm learning that psychology is a better weapon than violence. 2 days later, Jae-won sat across from Byung-ho Kim in a hotel conference room. No guards. No lawyers. Just 2 men who'd been at war for 3 years. Byung-ho looked exactly like his photos. Older, tired, dangerous in a way that came from experience rather than anger. You have proof, Byung-ho said. Not a question. Yes. Dr. Park's testimony, medical records, the name of your supplier, enough to convict you, enough to destroy everything you've built. So why am I here instead of in handcuffs? Because I'm offering you a choice. Step down. Transfer control of your organization to someone who won't use trauma and fear to maintain loyalty. Spend the rest of your life somewhere we can't reach you. And your family stays intact. Your grandson stays safe. Your legacy stays complicated instead of just monstrous. Byung-ho laughed. You think I'll just give up everything I've built? I think you're tired. I think you've been running this organization for 30 years. I think you understand that the methods that built it can't sustain it. I think you're smart enough to see that the new generation doesn't want to follow men like us. They want something different. Men like us. You're including yourself in that. Yes. Because I understand what I am. I understand that my son looks at me with fear instead of love. I understand that my wife died because I made enemies I couldn't control. I understand that everything I've done to protect my family has only put them in more danger. Jae-won leaned forward. I'm offering you something I wish someone had offered me 3 years ago. A way out. Take it. Byung-ho was quiet for a long time. Then he pulled out a photo, his grandson. 7 years old. Smiling. He asked me last week if I was a bad man. I told him no. I told him I was protecting our family. He asked me why protection looked like fear. What did you say? I didn't have an answer. Byung-ho put the photo away. I built this organization by making people need me, by showing them I was the only one who could keep them safe, by making them afraid of what would happen if they left. And it worked. For 30 years it worked. But my grandson is right. It looks like fear. It is fear. Then change it. How? By showing them there's another way. By stepping down before they have to force you out. By letting them see that strength isn't just holding power. It's knowing when to let go. Byung-ho studied Jae-won's face. You really believe that? I'm learning to. Maya Toms is teaching me. The woman you hunted for 6 years. Yes. The woman who survived a cult by understanding exactly what you do to make people loyal. He hung up, made another call. This one to Taeguk Park, the lawyer who'd been trying to broker peace between the families for 2 years. I want to meet with Byung-ho Kim, Jae-won said. No guards, no weapons, just conversation. He'll never agree to that. Tell him I have proof he murdered my wife. Tell him I have testimony from Dr. Park. Tell him I'm offering him a choice. He can face me in court, or he can face me in person and try to find a way out of this that doesn't end with his organization destroyed. Taeguk was quiet. Then, you're serious. I'm done with war. I'm done with revenge. I'm done with everything So-yeon hated about what I became. I want to end this. Byung-ho Kim killed my wife. He threatened my son. He built his power on trauma and fear. But I'm not going to destroy him by using those same tools. I'm going to offer him something he can't refuse. What? A way to step down with dignity, a way to leave his family intact, a way to spend the rest of his life somewhere other than prison. J1 looked at his reflection in the window. I learned something from Maya Toms. She survived a cult by understanding that people don't follow monsters because they love them. They follow them because they're afraid of what happens if they stop. If I can show Byung-ho Kim's people that there's a way out without death, his entire organization falls apart. That's brilliant. That's psychology. And I'm learning that psychology is a better weapon than violence. 2 days later, J1 sat across from Byung-ho Kim in a hotel conference room. No guards, no lawyers, just 2 men who'd been at war for 3 years. Byung-ho looked exactly like his photos, older, tired, dangerous in a way that came from experience rather than anger. You have proof, Byung-ho said. Not a question. Yes. Dr. Park's testimony. Medical records. The name of your supplier. Enough to convict you. Enough to destroy everything you've built. So why am I here instead of in handcuffs? Because I'm offering you a choice. Step down. Transfer control of your organization to someone who won't use trauma and fear to maintain loyalty. Spend the rest of your life somewhere we can't reach you. And your family stays intact. Your grandson stays safe. Your legacy stays complicated instead of just monstrous. Byung-ho laughed. You think I'll just give up everything I've built? I think you're tired. I think you've been running this organization for 30 years. I think you understand that the methods that built it can't sustain it. I think you're smart enough to see that the new generation doesn't want to follow men like us. They want something different. Men like us. You're including yourself in that. Yes. Because I understand what I am. I understand that my son looks at me with fear instead of love. I understand that my wife died because I made enemies I couldn't control. I understand that everything I've done to protect my family has only put them in more danger. J1 leaned forward. I'm offering you something I wish someone had offered me 3 years ago. A way out. Take it. Byung-ho was quiet for a long time. Then he pulled out a photo, his grandson, 7 years old, smiling. He asked me last week if I was a bad man. I told him no. I told him I was protecting our family. He asked me why protection looked like fear. What did you say? I didn't have an answer. Byung-ho put the photo away. I built this organization by making people need me, by showing them I was the only one who could keep them safe, by making them afraid of what would happen if they left. And it worked. For 30 years, it worked. But my grandson is right. It looks like fear. It is fear. Then change it. How? By showing them there's another way. By stepping down before they have to force you out. By letting them see that strength isn't just holding power. It's knowing when to let go. Byung-ho studied J1's face. You really believe that? I'm learning too. Maya Toms is teaching me. The woman you hunted for 6 years. Yes, the woman who survived a cult by understanding exactly what you do to make people loyal. The woman who's teaching me that breaking coercive control is more powerful than building it. Byung-ho smiled, sad, knowing. She's right. And you're right. I'm tired. I'm done. I'm ready to step down. He stood, offered his hand. But I want something in return. What? Protection for my family. Guaranteed. Not just words. Real protection. Your word that no one in my organization will retaliate against them when I leave. You have it. My word. My sister's word. The protection of the Kang family. They shook hands. 2 men who'd been at war, who'd each lost something that couldn't be recovered, who'd finally found a way to end it without more bloodshed. Tell Maya Toms I said thank you, Byung-ho said at the door. She gave you wisdom I couldn't buy. She showed you mercy I wouldn't have shown. She's the reason your son will remember you as someone who changed instead of someone who stayed a monster. Then he left. And J1 sat alone in the conference room and felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Relief. The war was over. The organization would survive. Hyun-soo was safe. Emma could go back to being a child. Maya had done what she'd promised, She'd changed everything. 3 weeks later, the transfer of power happened without violence. Byung-ho Kim announced his retirement. His organization restructured under new leadership. The people who'd followed him out of fear found themselves following something different. Not love, not loyalty, just the absence of terror. It wouldn't last forever. Someone would always try to rebuild, always try to reclaim power through fear. But for now, there was peace. Maya watched from the penthouse window as Emma played in the park below. No guards, no fear, just a 7-year-old girl on a swing set laughing. "You did it," Jae-won said behind her. "We did it. You're the one who chose negotiation over violence, only because you showed me it was possible." He stood next to her. "So Yun would have liked you. She spent years trying to convince me there was another way. I didn't listen. But I listened to you. Why? Because you weren't asking for my benefit. You were demanding it for your daughter. And I understood that. The willingness to destroy everything for the person you love." Maya turned to face him. "So what now? Now you decide. You can leave. I'll keep my word. Protection for both of you. Security that doesn't feel like a cage. Freedom. And if I stay, then you help me rebuild this family into something Hyun-soo doesn't have to run from. Something that doesn't trade safety for fear. Something that might actually survive past my generation." Maya looked at Hyun-soo's door, at the child who'd taught her that sometimes the bravest thing you could do was tell the truth, even when it was terrifying, even when it meant everything might change. "I'll stay," she said, "not because I have to, because I want to see if you can actually become the man your wife believed you could be." Jae-won smiled. "That might take a while. Good thing I'm patient." She went back to watching Emma, to this life she'd built from desperation, to this family she'd fallen into because she'd knelt on a grocery store floor and said 4 words. He needs a mom. She still wasn't his mom, still wasn't trying to replace what he'd lost, but she was something, mentor, protector, the person who'd helped him carry the weight of truth. That was enough. For now, for this moment, for this complicated, imperfect, dangerous version of safety. 1 year later, Maya sat in her office on the 41st floor. Not a penthouse anymore, not a cage, just a workspace with windows and degrees on the wall and a private practice that specialized in trauma recovery. Her dissertation sat in a frame, still unfinished, still ABD, but present. A reminder of what she'd lost, what she'd survived, what she'd learned. Emma came home from school without guards, laughed without looking over her shoulder, had nightmares less frequently, was healing in the slow, imperfect way children heal when you give them time and safety and truth. Hyun-soo drew different pictures now. Still his mother, still medicine bottles, but also parks, friends, Maya's face. His father's face without the fear in it. He talked more, laughed sometimes, visited his mother's grave and told her about his day. Was learning to carry the grief instead of being crushed by it. Jae-won had stepped back from active leadership, let younger members run operations, focused on his son, attended therapy, made choices So Yun would have recognized. He wasn't perfect, still made decisions Maya disagreed with, still used power in ways that made her uncomfortable, still walked the line between protection and control. But he was trying, and trying mattered. Maya opened her laptop, pulled up her dissertation, the research that had started everything, the understanding of coercive control that had saved her, that had helped her survive Marcus Webb, that had helped her dismantle Byung-ho Kim's organization. She read through the conclusion she'd written 7 years ago, about how breaking free from coercive control required 3 things: recognizing it, refusing to participate, finding community outside the system. She'd done all 3. Multiple times, in multiple contexts, with multiple monsters. She'd survived. That night, Maya put Emma to bed, read her a story about dragons and princesses and chosen families, kissed her forehead, watched her fall asleep without nightmares. Then she walked to her nightstand, opened the drawer. Inside, her father's photo. The man who'd taught her that survival wasn't just about breathing, it was about refusing to let monsters define what your life would look like. Next to it, her dissertation papers, unfinished, but meaningful anyway. Proof that her research had been right, that coercive control could be understood, identified, dismantled. Next to that, a drawing from Hyun-soo, a new one. Not medicine bottles, not grief, just 3 people at a table. Maya, Emma, Hyun-soo, eating dinner, smiling. At the bottom in careful handwriting, my chosen family. Maya closed the drawer, turned off the light, went to bed in an apartment that was hers, that she'd earned, that she'd fought for. She dreamed about grocery stores, about children screaming, about 4 words that changed everything. But this time, when she woke up, she didn't feel trapped. She felt something different, free, or at least free enough. If you stayed until the end, you're already the kind of person this story was written for. Stories where nothing is clean, choices have weight, and love costs something. If you want more like this, you know what to do. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.